Hey everybody! Today on Bread-a-licious, jalapeno cheddar bread with jalapeno poppers. So, before I tell you all you need for the bread, I want to show you the dough because I got to get it going. So that's our jalapenos and our cheddars whipped into our thing that I've folded already. And don't worry, I'll go over the process with you. I'm gonna scoop this guy out. Haha. Now this one's gonna be a little bit sticky. That is okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, typically when we're dividing a dough, we want to do it by weight. If you do not care that they look a little different in size, by all means eyeball it. Do whatever you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to kind of divide this into half because I'm making 4 loaves. And I can tell that one's a little smaller, so I can take from this larger one. Okay. Now, second thing is typically bread can do its final proof and shape in cloth. So if you have old dinner napkins you don't really use anymore, that's great. Take them, take a bit of bread flour, rub them in there, get that all comfort in, and then tucked in. And I have 4 more bowls here ready to go. Just gonna make sure, stir that in, make sure those are nice, good and coated. You want them, and this is why you pick napkins you don't really use or care about, although flour washes out just fine. But if you don't have the flour into the napkin, it'll stick to the napkin. And then I'm gonna do a lightly floured surface, lightly floured hands. So watch my hands here as we do a circular round shape. So I'm going to go here, I'm just going to twist. So I'm going underneath, pushing down, over, the other way pushing down, and I just continue to do that. Hold on, if it sticks to you a little bit, you just rub some flour like that. Then you just keep going. And as you can see, the dough starts to tighten up. You can pop any air bubbles. If you see this pop out, you just tuck it under. And then you take your nice round side and you flip it into the napkin. That way that knob twist is facing up. Because when you put it on the board or on the stone, you'll be taking the bowl and doing a dump like that. So if you get pieces sticking out, no biggie, just tuck them underneath. Don't lose any jalapeno or cheddar. Go to town. Alrighty. This is a great meal because you get a little bit of that cheesiness, a little bit of the spiciness. And as you can see, just twist, push, twist, push. Then this guy. And as you notice, I always have my bench scraper ready to go. Got flour on my hands, very good. I'm doing a fairly decent push here. You want the dough to kind of tighten underneath. That's how you get a good shape. And another thing too I want to point out, if a jalapeno pops out, you might want to tuck that underneath. A pocket of cheese, not so much. That's going to melt. It's going to look really cool. Lava pockets of cheese, nothing like it. And then what you do is just take the corners, do a slight fold, mainly so air doesn't touch it. And again, I'm not pushing down, I'm just stopping air. And then we let this sit for an hour while it rises again. And in the meantime, we'll make our jalapeno poppers. I'll get the stuff and we'll be right back. Okay, so while our dough is rising, we'll do jalapeno poppers. I want to give you an advice on jalapenos though. Wear some gloves and then go ahead and double up on your dominant hand for the trick I'm going to show you. Okay. First of all, always cut the top. Always cut lengthwise. Okay. Gonna do the same for 2 jalapenos. Okay. Now, a trick is, and the reason I'm right-handed, so I double up on my right hand, you can take a spoon, but you're typically fighting with it. Go towards the tip, loosen that, dig in there with your thumb, just once, and then that way you can follow the membrane of the pepper, and then you're done. I'll do that one more time. Kind of get in there really good. Hear the pop, and then a push. You might have to go over it one more time, but then boom, you're done. You're not having to scrape. You just have a nice strong thumb portion. Okay. Then you can use your other thumb a little bit, but the reason we double up on your dominant hand is sometimes the spiciness can leak through the glove, or the glove gets a hole in it, and then you have a really hot, stinging thumb, and that's not good. So we just double up for assurance there. The other thing too I want to go over in terms of safety is dicing jalapenos. Never dice this side up. The veins in the pepper are juicy. You can cut down, juice flies in your eye. It's not pleasant. I know that from decent experience. So we're going to dice one for jalapeno bread. Okay, and you want relatively small pieces. The other important thing about our bread is you don't want seeds in our bread. If you like it spicy, add a few more jalapenos, but in all honesty, don't add the seeds. And it's mainly a functionality issue. The seeds are very light. They can rise all over the place. They're not necessarily going to get an even distribution. They can rise to the top of the dough, all sorts of stuff. So it's just better to leave them out because you can't control where they're going to go, or if they're going to have even displacement, even displacement throughout that loaf. And then we have these two that would be nice holes for our jalapeno poppers. So I'm going to move this to the side. And then we're going to make our jalapeno popper filling. So here, about a pound of mild cheddar cheese. You can use sharp cheddar if you want. The important thing is, like I've said before, get a block and grate it yourself. Here I've got some salt and some cream cheese. Okay, I'm going to get all that cream cheese out. The cream cheese has been left out for a couple hours to soften. Okay, and then I'm just going to blend that together in. I like the spatula for this because I got to scoop up it later, but you can also use a wooden spoon if you want. Just incorporate it well. Oh yeah, that's nice. And that's the consistency we're looking for. Just evenly disbursement. Okay, now I have some jalapenos here. Let me get rid of this glove. I also don't want to have to wash my hands, so I'm going to put another glove on. These gloves, like single-use gloves, are at the grocery stores now. I encourage getting them for bread baking just for easy cleanup purposes. It does make our lives a lot easier. Now the other thing too is you don't want this to flow over too much. So you do actually just fill it to the line of the jalapeno, okay? And then I'll continue filling these up. You bake them in the oven at 400 degrees. You start with 10 minutes and then add 2 minutes at a time from there. And we'll be right back. Okay, So let's go over the recipe for this bread. We use a bigga, that's the starter we're gonna use. That needs to be 16 hours and ideally overnight to kind of firm up. For that, you take 5.8 ounces of bread flour, 3.5 ounces of water, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of yeast. Stir that together, get it covered, let it rest. After the 16 hours, what you do is you take 1 pound, 10 ounces of bread flour, 15.7 ounces of water, 0.5 ounces of salt, 0.1 ounces of dry yeast, a pound of cheese, and 10 ounces of diced jalapenos without the seeds. You get that incorporated, okay? And there's a different way to do this. My recommendation is you get your flour, your water. If you want to add a little bit of olive oil, you can. Get the dough together, then with the yeast and the water, and then add your cheese and jalapenos, and then get that working, okay? And then you let that sit in a bin, and keep in mind when you add your bigga is when you add your jalapenos and cheese. So again, just to not confuse anyone, flour, water, yeast, oil, get the dough together pretty much. In other words, so it's roughly one mass. Then tear up your bigga into pieces, add that in with the jalapenos and the cheddar, mix that, knead that for about 7 minutes to 10, just depends on your kneading strength, no big deal. You're waiting for the bread to bounce back at you. You put that in a bin like you saw at the beginning of the episode. You let it bulk ferment for 2 hours, and halfway in between, in other words, an hour into that process, you do the trifold and then let it rest for the other hour, okay? For the jalapeno poppers, again, that was a cream cheese block and about a pound of shredded cheddar, okay? Excellent. Now, the other thing I want to point out is the dice size. You want them relatively medium, okay? So you want them roughly this size. Same with the cheese, okay? Any larger than that, you're gonna be fighting the bread and it's gonna be popping out on you, and it can be hard to shape. So just bear that in mind. We kind of go to a somewhat small, medium-sized dices in order to get it ingrained in the bread well. All right, our jalapeno poppers are almost out of the oven, so we will get back then. See you soon. Okay, our jalapeno poppers, mine took about 18 minutes. Just depends on how thick your jalapenos are. Oh yeah. Oh, those are delicious. Look at that ooey gooey cheese. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're starting to whistle. The whistling, that's a good sign. Okay, I'm gonna adjust my oven rack. We're gonna get our oven up to 460. Then we'll let that heat up. And then since it's been at 400 for a good half hour, getting it to 460 and then popping the bread in is fine. So we'll get set up for our bread, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so our dough has proofed up nicely, divots back. And what I do is I just take this, plop, and it comes right out. With bread, we need to talk about scoring. I have a very sharp knife. You might want a razor blade for this. I do 3 incisions. The reason this is important is because the steam needs to escape. If not, you get tears in your bread where you don't want them. So this is a way to control that. I have my little guide, so what I'm gonna do is go into the oven. That is at 460. I have the rack out of my Ray, and then I just push each one on the stone tablets really quickly. I have plenty of cornmeal. So, I'm gonna move around, take this guy, open, and I'm gonna move quickly. Gonna lift that. The other thing is I have my water, throw that in. and then we cook for 10 minutes, de-steam the oven, and then an additional 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll be right back. Okay, our bread's done. Let's get it out of the oven. Okay, so quick close-up on this. As you can see where we hit it with the skewers, you see the pockets of lava from the cheese. That's very beautiful. If you get a few burn pockets like these of cheese, that happens. You just tear that off, or it pops off on its own. Okay. Fresh out of the oven. Oh my goodness, guys. This is an exciting time. Now, in bread, you have one more stage. It's called cooling. But there's nothing like fresh bread out of the oven, so we're going to cut into it. Oh yeah. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Jalapeno cheddar bread at its finest, along with some jalapeno poppers as a snack. So that's it. That's Bread-a-licious for today, y'all. See you next time.